it is put up or shut up, because our guest at this time surprised the entire wrestling world. The WWE was shocked because a week ago yesterday on SmackDown, completely out of the blue, one of the original divas came back to her haunt, came back to SmackDown. And certainly she was the very first individual who had the pleasure of showing her stuff, per se, on the pages of Playboy magazine. She's back, and I am most interested in talking to her because there's got to be a lot going through her mind over these last 8 days. We welcome to Byte This the beautiful and gorgeous Sable. Sable, it's Howard, Josh Matthews. Welcome to Byte This.
Well, hello, guys. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, Sable. It's our pleasure indeed.
Absolutely.
Welcome back. And you know, I, in my wildest dreams, Sable, would never have thought I would be saying this to you, just considering things that have happened over the past few years and how things do change and how you never say never in this industry. And I want to put you right into the frying pan on the very first question. Did you ever think that Sable would ever grace the squared circle of World Wrestling Entertainment again? And tell us how this all came about.
Well, Howard, I think you summed it all up. In this business, you never say never. I certainly hoped that one day I would be able to return. And, you know, Vince and I put our differences aside, put the past behind us, and we decided to move forward. It was the best for the company and the fans. So I am very excited to be back.
Well, I think we're all excited to have her
We're all
back.
excited to have you back. And the way you came back on SmackDown last week, just completely out of the blue, but with a purpose, because here was Torrie Wilson, who, of course, is the current WWE diva who has graced the pages of Playboy. And it was her coming out party, per se. And here she was so proud, so happy to be sharing her excitement with the multitudes of fans in the arena and on television. And completely out of left field, you came in. Some people will argue that you crashed the party. I'm sure you have a different take on it.
Well, you know what? There's plenty of room in the WWE for more than one diva. And it was just my opportunity to come back, and I felt that that was the perfect time to make my appearance. And at the same time, you know, she's a Playboy centerfold playmate, and I just felt like, you know, I would be there to support her.
Well,
yeah, well, anyway, Sable, I mean, you've been gone for, you know, about a 4.5-year absence, and now you're back. The locker room has changed completely. What's it like being on SmackDown? You know, how's everyone treating you? What's it like being back on the road? All that great stuff.
and how did you adapt, and what was the reaction of the SmackDown roster, per se, when you did come back last week?
Well, I think it's safe to say that a lot of people were very surprised to see Sable back. But I really feel very welcome there. I feel like the roster has definitely changed. I feel like the locker room is a very comfortable place to be. And I just felt extremely welcomed and comfortable and just very happy to be back.
Well, again, you've certainly turned some heads since your arrival. And I would like to ask you, of course, when you were here in your first tenure, certainly you were involved from a standpoint with Mark Merrow. And, of course, you know, that is your real-life husband, of course, as we know. And I'd like to know what Mark is up to these days, because we certainly have not seen his name as of late in the wrestling scene. I'm sure he's doing some stuff out of wrestling. And if I know Mark like I do, he's being very successful at it.
Well, yes, he is. He's extremely successful. He is continuing to stay very busy. He's certainly helping me in my career. I've been doing a lot of things in the entertainment business, and he pretty much oversees all that for me. Mm-hmm. He's also working on some projects of his own right now, so yes, he stays extremely busy.
Well, that's very good. We're hoping to take some phone calls here for Sable at 1-888-LIVE-WWE. Our chat room is active too, Sable. We have a question from Mark Sue, and this is very interesting, and I'll read this. It says, ask Sable if she has any plans to jump to Raw after she finishes her business with Torrie Wilson, and would she like to challenge for the WWE Women's Championship? Wow, that's a lot in such a short period of time.
You know, at this time, I'm going to stay put on SmackDown. I feel like that is where I could be utilized the best. And, you know, there is always an opportunity for me to go after the title again. I mean, once the women's champion, you always feel that drive to succeed a second time.
Okay.
You know, and think if you're going to want to be on a show, you're going to want to be on SmackDown.
I'm sorry?
If you're going to want to be on a show, you're going to want to be on SmackDown anyway.
That's right. I'm very happy where I am, and for the time being, I'm staying put.
I think Josh is trying to score some points here because I tried to press him earlier in the telecast here, Sable, about if the opportunity were presented to come to Raw, because I'm affiliated with Raw, and he's affiliated with SmackDown, so, you know, I think he's playing both ends against the middle right now. I'll talk to you about that later. We have a phone call.
I would have to just interject here and say that since I am a part of SmackDown, I would absolutely have to agree with Josh.
All right, well, let's
go.
It's 2-0, and I better quit while I'm ahead.
And we got Taz still coming up later on.
Oh, man.
Now, Howard, you know you can't win against a woman, so.
No, I guess not. We have Kyle from Massachusetts, Sable, on the phone, and I'm sure he would like to ask you a question. Kyle, welcome to Byte This. This is your one-on-one opportunity that you've dreamed of with Sable.
Hey, Fink.
Hello, how are you?
All right. A few weeks ago, Sable, you kissed Torrie Wilson. Are there any other WWE divas you'd like to get a taste of?
Well, let's just say that Sable is Sable-licious, so it may be them that want to get a taste of me.
Oh, well, Josh, you all right?
I am. It's getting a little hot in here, Fink, to say the least.
Not a problem. Sable, while you were inactive from WWE programming and rings and promotional opportunities, did you keep your finger on the pulse of the industry? I know you had a brief little fling, literal fling with WCW, and of course your career certainly went into different directions, all good ones. Did you keep your finger on the pulse of this particular organization at all before you made your return? And also tell us what you did in that interim.
You know, I did continue to watch wrestling. I think once you're a part of it, you always feel a need to continue to keep up with it, even though maybe not as much as I would have had I been part of the show. But yeah, the product is just unbelievable now. The production value that's put into it is amazing, and you know, it's probably the best it's ever been. Mm-hmm. But yes, I did continue to pursue my acting career. I had an opportunity to shoot 4 different movies. Some videos, commercials, advertising, continued my modeling career and did some promotional work. So in the past 4 years, I stayed extremely busy and at the same time, you know, had the opportunity to follow wrestling. And once I knew that I would be making my return, I certainly tuned in to see what was going on.
Well, again, I think it's a win-win situation for everyone involved that you have returned to grace the great organization known as World Wrestling Entertainment. We have another question here for the chat room. Of course, it's from Cool Real. I think that's what it says. It says, how does Sable feel about coming back and not being the only diva in the WWE? And let's face it, Sable, you were definitely preeminent the first time you were here. Now there's a bunch of people. Does that challenge you more to perhaps go to become a top spot again? Or are you just content to take it one day at a time? There are more divas than there were when you were here the first time, admittedly.
Yes, there are, and you know, I think that that's good for the women's division as a whole. Mm-hmm. I think the company has realized how much the women do bring to the company. And yes, I am not the only diva in there at this time. I was not the only diva in there last time, but I certainly am always up for the challenge.
The divas have gotten a lot more physical since Sable's first run here. I mean, you look at like Lita, who actually broke her neck performing a move while on a TV set, you know.
Absolutely.
And then you got Nydia, who loves to get in the ring, and Torrie Wilson in there. So, Sable, I guess my question is, are you planning on getting into the ring, you know, and getting physical with these other divas?
Right now, I'm just going to take it one day at a time. I'm not really sure where I hope for my career to go. Just one day at a time. I'm just very glad at this point to be back. And, you know, I'm not really sure whether I want to be in the wrestling ring again or if I just want to possibly manage someone or maybe take it in a different direction. But, you know, like I mentioned earlier to Howard, once you've been the women's champion, it's very hard not to want to go after that title again.
I think, Sable, that now that you're back in WWE, I'm sure your mental plate, that is full with many different ideas and thoughts, because one of the beauties about the great superstars that we have here in WWE, you know, they have a lot of creativity within them. And if I know Sable like I do, I'm sure that she has some creative thoughts also that she hopes to, in time, I'm sure, bring out, which hopefully will make for everybody to enjoy the product even more. And on the line now, who called us at 1-888-LIVE-WWE, we have Tom from Maryland. Tom, did you ever think you'd be talking to Sable?
Never in a million years, and Sable, it's good to talk to you.
Well, thank you. It's good to talk to you.
I had a question for you because you were kind of specific maybe 4 years ago about who and did what to you and why you left the WWE. And I'm sure some of those guys and people who will remain unnamed are still around. Are you kind of, for lack of a better word, trying to avoid them, or are you trying to, make bygones be bygones?
I think the only way to, face up to any situation is to take it head on. I don't think avoiding a situation is ever a good way to handle it. I don't believe that I ever mentioned any specific names or any specific events that happened. I just said that, that there were some things that happened at the time where I felt like it was best that I leave. And, it was time for me to pursue some other things, so that's what I chose to do. And fortunately, when I decided to come back, everybody was extremely open and accepted me back. And if there are those who, may have other opinions that I am unaware of at this time, I hope to prove myself once again and show them that I am definitely committed and dedicated to this.
Sable, what kind of a rush was it for you last week when you did walk out in front of the live audience in Spokane, Washington? Did the butterflies flow pretty freely backstage before you went out? And then when you got out there and it was all there again, what was going through your mind? Give us your thoughts.
Oh, Howard, I can't even begin to tell you what an overwhelming feeling that was. The anticipation of even walking out, on the stage through those curtains, just moments before your music play, you certainly have the butterflies, and I think that's always a great thing to have, are the nerves. It keeps you at the top of your game. But once I finally did walk through the curtains and heard my music play, the reception that I felt from the fans was just overwhelming. It's, one of the aspects that I missed more than anything else about the business was performing in front of the live audience. When you do film work or television, you don't get that instant gratification. And you do it over and over and over again, and sometimes it just loses its spontaneity. But performing in front of a live audience, just such an overwhelming experience that you definitely miss it.
And how does it feel working for Stephanie McMahon?
She is quite the lady.
Exactly.
She is so extremely nice and so easy to talk to and to express yourself to. And if you have opinions or feelings or thoughts on something, she is certainly there to listen to you, and she certainly has great advice. And so far it's been wonderful, and I just really hope for our relationship to grow and continue.
Take another phone call here. We have another question. I know Josh has a question. He's been waiting to ask you this since he knew you were coming on today.
What's that, Howard?
What did we talk about earlier?
We talked about the issues of Playboy and stuff like that.
I asked you who had the better photo issue of Playboy.
Right.
Was it Sable or was it Torrie Wilson?
Yeah, and I told you I'm not allowed to read Playboy.
You're not allowed to read Playboy. My foot, you're not allowed to read Playboy. What are you, under 18?
Well, no, I told you I have a girlfriend and she doesn't allow me to read the Playboys.
Playboy magazine is a very big
you got to choose a woman that's more confident in herself.
Well, no, I'm just trying.
Thank you, Sable.
I'm just trying to avoid the question here.
I know you're doing that. That's why I'm saying to you shouldn't be putting the blame off on her.
Right. Well, I enjoyed both the issues, Howard. And all three. The WWE divas who've done this, and I enjoyed them all. I actually have them all under my. In my room, and I read them all the time. I'm cover to cover. I got all the articles and everything memorized as well.
All right. I think he's trying to be nice, Sable. Everybody.
That's the most political way to answer that question, and it's a safe way, and I can certainly understand his point of view there.
Well, he's being very diplomatic, and you're absolutely right. It's politically correct.
That's right.
Certainly, Sable, your reemergence here in WWE, it was a shock. It was a surprise. But then they say that surprises generally are good, and it was good. And there's no doubt in my mind that now that Sable is back, and what was that you said last week, Sable, if you want to reiterate those words about the women and the men, some like you and some don't?
No, they all like me, Howard.
Mm-hmm.
Sable always comes out to say this is for all the women who still want to be me and for all the men who come to see me.
Words were never spoken, that is for sure. Sable, we want to take this opportunity to thank you for your time today here on Byte This. We'd like to extend an opportunity for you to join us again in the future, because I think in the weeks to come, we've just seen the beginning of the emergence of Sable, and I think there's going to be a lot more to see as time goes on. And Sable, from a personal standpoint, I'm delighted you're back. You've always been a pro, and there's no question that I think this is going to be a good one for you this time out.
Well, thank you very much, Howard. I am very excited to be back, and I think when Sable left, she was just starting to find her stride, and I can definitely say Sable is back.
Right on, and the cool thing is tomorrow night on Confidential, we can see more about the surprising return.
Oh yes,
of Sable's SmackDown.
That's right. Tomorrow night at 11:10 Central on the new TNN.
Right after that show comes on, right after Velocity.
The Ernest Miller Show. Yeah.
Whoa,
Okay.
Howard.
It's the Ernest the Cat Miller Show featuring Josh Matthews.
I guess you've never seen the show.
Who's the top banana? Sable, we look forward to that interview on Confidential. Can you just give us, as Josh reminded us, just give us a little sampling of what we can expect tomorrow on that interview?
Well, basically, I just discussed my reason for leaving and my reason for returning and what I hope to accomplish on my return, and how excited I am to be back. And
I think that's all you should say. Let them tune in tomorrow.
Okay.
And find out. Sable, look forward to seeing you the upcoming week. And again, welcome back. We're glad you're here.
Well, thank you very much. You guys have a great evening.
You too, Sable. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, Sable.